So, a happy morning for everyone. This is Priya, your English teacher from Alpha International CBSE School, Bahu. So, today we are going to discuss about the wind. It is a poem which related to chapter 2. We have already discussed chapter 2 lesson, right? The sound of music. So, this poem related to that chapter. So, with this poem, the lesson ends. So, today let us discuss about the wind. You all know what is a wind, right? Wind is a breeze, air. We can tell like any other things how we can express, right? But what is there in this poem? Let us check what the poem is meant and what message the poet is trying to give us in this poem or through this poem. Okay, children. So next, if we this is the second chapter's poem. The title of the poem is what? The Wind. Now let us see the contents. The contents of this poem are introduction, about the poet, next poem, literary devices, message and activity. So these are the contents of this poem. So here is the introductory part. The central idea of the poem Wind is that problems are part and parcel of every human being. They will always come and torture us. Those who face them boldly succeed and prosper in their lives. Those who are weak and lack courage fail miserably. Hence, we should always be ready to face problems as well as challenges. And children, here we should know that we all know that wind is a natural phenomenon, right? Which is abundant in the world. And then nobody can measure the wind. And we can't even say the flow of a wind. But we have to be ready to face the force of that. Right? Like in this poem, the poet talks about the wind, like the force of the wind. He describes the wind as it is a destructive. Children, destructive means it is a like negative force, which is not pleasant, which is unnatural. So that type of force. So the poet describes the wind in this poem as what? Destructive. And then he has linked this destructive power of wind to the adversities of life. Adversities of life means children like adversities means a negative like the situation where a problematic situation where we humans were locked. So this poet is what he is doing? He is just what? In linking both this destructive power of wind and also the wind as a destructive power and adversities of human being. So the poem gives an important message that we should mentally be strong. Why? Because the weak people always break down when they face these adversities, that bad situation. They will become breakdown. The weak people only break down, but stronger people try to emerge or try to come out of those problems, right? And the message from this poem is like the weak person breaks the hardships of life, children. A weak person breaks out like a weak building. And a strong person will always be strong enough to stand and emerge out of these problems. And we must make these destructive forces with our strength and determination. So this is what the poet wants to express his views to us, like how a weak people faces a problem and how what happens when a weak people face the problem and what happens when a strong human faces the problem. So how we should make our mind to face all this destructive force. So these type of negative forces and the bad situations and the problems which we are facing in our lives, the poet compared this with a destructive force of wind. So let us see who is that poet. Okay, children. So here we are going to discuss about the poet. The poet of this poem, The Wind, is Chinnaswamy Subramania Bharati. You all know Bharatiya, right? Yes. Chinnaswamy Subramania Bharati was an Indian writer, poet, journalist, Indian independence activist and social reformer from Tamil Nadu, India. Popularly known as Mahakavi Bharatiyar. He is a pioneer of modern Tamil poetry and is considered one among the greatest of Tamil literary figures of all time. His numerous works were fiery songs kindling patriotism and nationalism during Indian independent movements. So he was born in Ettayapuram. Where was he born? Ettayapuram of Tirunelveli district. Now that place is in Thoothukudi. Okay, children. Yeah, Bharati has had his early education in Tirunelveli and Varanasi and worked as a journalist with many newspapers and notable among them being the Swadesha Mitran and India. Bharati was also an active member of the Indian National Congress. So, Indian National Congress in 1908, an arrest warrant was issued against Bharati by the government of British India for his revolutionary activities, forcing him to flee to Puducherry, where he lived until 1918. So, Bharati's works were on varied themes covering religious, political and social aspects. Songs penned by Bharati are widely used in Tamil films and music concerts until today for any like independence, like patriotic songs or any events. We still make an idol of Bharatiyar and some children, any one or two will be for sure playing his role there. Right children? So this is a small information about the poet Chinnaswamy Subramania Bharati. And let us go into the poem now. Okay. So here the actual poem comes children. Wind. Let me read first. Be ready with your pencils so that you can underline the hard vocabularies whatever I am saying. Okay. So take your pencils and be ready children. You have to underline the words. First, wind comes softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun. Children, underline the word poking fun. Poking fun means making fun of something. Okay. Poking fun at weaklings. Then frail crumbling houses. So weaklings means a person who is weak. Then frail crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives, crumbling hearts. So underline the word crumbling. What is meant by crumbling children? Crumbling means falling or to cause something, breaking things. Okay, crumbling means breaking. Underline the word rafter. Rafter means sloping beam with the support of roof of the building. Sloping beams which support the roof of the building. So these are the rafters. So the explanation part for this stanza was, let me explain clearly children, like yes, the poet is talking to the wind now. He is directly talking to the wind. He asks the wind to come slowly. Softly means slowly. Okay, he is asking the wind to come slowly. So he is saying that the wind should not be very strong, like loud. It should not make the people scared from it. Okay, it should be soft and subtle. Then he says that the wind is very powerful. The wind is very powerful and it is destructive. It is heavy force is damaging everything. Destructive means like the force of the wind is damaging everything. So it breaks the shutters of the windows. Do you know what is the shutters of the windows? Like it's like a door also we can say, window doors. So it is breaking the shutters of the windows, and then what it is doing? It is scattering the papers. Some books are there. Books might be there on the table or in the house. So because of those heavy force from the windows or doors, the wind is scattering the papers from the books, and all the books which are kept on the shelf fall down. So all the books which are kept on the shelf fall down. So here the poet is describing the power of wind, like how force it is blowing, like the wind blows and just throwing away, pushing all the books from the shelves. It is scattering the windows, and also the papers were all scattered here and there. Then he says that the wind to look at the destruction that it had done. He's asking that wind, you come slowly. Look what you have done here. You have done all, you are damaging everything in the house. Like that he is speaking directly to the wind. And like whenever there is a strong wind, all the time that are weak, like small plants, tiny children, and small particles, whatever inside the house are there, or everything is like everything falling down, right children? Yes, they all get scattered and they can even fall and get hurt. When the force of the wind is heavy, small particles, small children, small plants, clothes, everything scatters and sometimes it breaks and damages also, right? But what about the strong person? The strong people stay, like the plants are falling down. Are the trees falling down? No, right? The trees are strong. Only the weak things only fall down. The strong things stand straight. Yes or no? Yes. And we can say that in the initial part of the poem, the first 1 to 4 lines of the poem, the poet is referring the wind as a young child. Referring to wind as what? A young child. He is saying that it should come softly. In the first line itself, he is saying that, see, the wind comes softly. He is asking the wind to come softly, just like a small child comes. Small child, how the child comes? Very slowly and softly, right? In the same way, he is comparing the small child with the wind and asking the wind to come slowly and softly. And he is saying that it should come softly. The later part we come to know that the wind is destructive, just like a youth. Youth means like about 13 years children. How that age group will be there, always active, attentive, super active, hyperactive, every way of activeness we can see in that youth stage, young children, right? So when he is talking a wind to come slowly, it is coming in a destructive manner like an youth. And just like a young boy or a young girl who is full of energy and violence and destruction. Now he is telling that the wind, first he compared the wind with the child, right? Now he is telling that this wind is like a young boy or a girl who is very active and not thinking about anything, always trying to damage things, breaking things. He is comparing now that with that only. Is it good, children? No, right? And here the word crumbling, you have seen here like the crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling bodies, crumbling lives and crumbling hearts. The crumbling is repeated so many times. He can just say the wind is crumbling bodies, lives, rafters, wood, like he can say like that, but he didn't say why. Why he didn't say like that? He repeated so many times because he want to stress that crumbling word. So he want to stress that everything crumbles in the face of a strong wind. So the writer is saying that when wind is very powerful, it is very strong and it leads a very big damage around it. mainly to the weaklings. Weaklings means what? Who are very weak. And it is very strong. It leads to the breakage of everything. Houses which are weak, in that houses the doors may fall, the rafters may fall, and which are weak, like the beams on which the roofs of the building are supported. The roofs of the building are supported like this, and these beams also fall with that, because they can't bear that strong wind. Only the small houses beams, only not the beams of the big houses. And all bodies of people also fall, animals fall, lives fall, hearts fall, right? So he is saying that everything is crumbled by the heavy force of the wind. So the poet is saying that whenever a weak person faces any adversity means what? A problem, destructive force, a negative force of a problem, or a challenge in life, he breaks down and false. Here clearly notice something, children. Whenever a person or a weak thing faces a problem or a challenging thing, that weak thing falls and breaks. But when a strong person stands in front of that destructive force, he can manage to not to fall, and he will manage to emerge out of that problem. So that he wants us to be strong and not the weak. This stanza of this poem shows us how a weak is facing a problem and how a strong man has to face a problem, and he is comparing the wind with a child and the youth and the variations in their behaviors. Okay, children. Now let us go to the next stanza. And here comes the next part of the poem. Let me read now. The wind god winnows and crushes them all. He won't do what you tell him. So, come, let's build strong homes. Let's join the doors firmly. Practice to firm the body. Make the heart steady fast. Do this and the wind will be friends with us. The wind blows out weak fires. He makes strong fires roar and flourish. His friendship is good. We praise him every day. Subramanya Bharati. So the explanation for this part, the children here, winnows means to broke grain free of chaff, separate grains from husk. Like like let us say take a rice. So if we take a grain, we need the inner part, right? So we have to separate the grain by just what blowing we will do like this, and if you blow like this, the husk, for example, take like a roasted peanut. If you roast the peanut and take into your hands and just like this, if you smash it and if you blow, the husk will go away and the grain stands in our hands, right? So that is what wind knows. And now children, explanation is, the poet is addressing to wind as wind god. He is expressing the wind. He is telling us that wind is a god. And he is saying that the wind god is a powerful god. He is a powerful god of wind knows. Because he is a god which helps, who helps the farmers also, right? Wind knows. That is what they are saying, wind knows. That means he sets all the people, and those people who are weak fall down and get crushed. So children, like if we are placing some grains along with the husk, if the wind blows, only the husk goes away, right? Blows away along with that. But the smaller and weaker grains also will go, and the strong ones will stand in their places. They just give a movement, but they will not move, right? That is what here he means. That means he swept all the people, from those people who are weak will fall down and get hurt. Get crushed means get hurt mentally. Okay. So here a comparison is made between the wheat and the people. Comparison is made between the what? Wheat and people. Just like we know the wheat to separate the grain. You can see in the textbook the picture. Two ladies are winnowing. When they are winnowing like this, when the wind blows, only the husk goes that side and the grains fall down. But sometimes the weaker grains also will go that side. Right, children? The same way. The wheat to separate the grain from the chaff. The wind god separates the strong people from the weak people. When there is a strong wind, all the things that are weak fall and crushed. So here in that wheat, the husk is a weak people, the grain is a strong people. So here the wind god is separating. When the wheat is chaff, like we are just chaffing like this, the wheat chaff, when they are winnowing the wheat, the wind god is separating the husk and saving the what? He is supporting the grains. He is separating the husk from the grain. It means he is just clearing the weak people and he is making the stronger people more strong. So all the weak which is blown along with the wind is getting crushed. It means getting damaged, gets hurt. So all the things that are weak fall that side and get crushed, and which are strong here will stay strong. Right, children? And the poet also wants us to make friends with the wind. He's telling us to make friends with the wind, because the problems in our lives, even though we have so many problems, we must not be scared of that. We must not become weak. We have to make friends with the problems. Then only we can overcome from that, right? He says that the problems will not listen to us. If we have any problem, shall we say, problem, I don't want you today. Tomorrow will you come to me? If we ask like this, will the problem listen to us? No, it will not listen to us. It will come. We have to prepare ourselves to manage that. So that is why the poet is comparing the wind with the problems, like what? They will not listen to that, but we should be prepared. And in preparation, we should build strong homes and close the doors of our house tightly, firmly. So, like preparing ourselves to save our houses and ourselves from the strong wind, we have to close the windows tight, doors tight, and we have to keep everything firmly, tightly, so that the wind cannot get into that, right? And then he says that we should also make our bodies also strong. Physically, we should be strong. We have to make our hearts. Heart is the first thing which is going to face the problem. The second thing, when we are stressed with the problem, when we are unable to not able to face the problem, automatically it shows effect on our body also. So here the poet also he is suggesting us to make our body and heart strong. And then also we are strong enough for all the challenges. For all the challenges, we should prepare ourselves to be very strong. And then once we are strong enough to face all the challenges, then we will be definitely a friend to that problem. That is how he said that we have to be friend with the what? Wind. And we will not feel that they are troublesome. Once we feel that we can face that, we can overcome those problems. Once we feel that it is our friend only, we can do whatever. It is not its rule, it is our rule. When the problem is coming to us, it is in our hands to solve it. Then automatically it cannot damage us. Poet has kept the wind on a pedestal. He is comparing the wind to God. And then he says that wind is God and we have to praise him every day. He also adds that everything which is weak gets finished off, and we have to face the strong one. And then we should make ourselves physically and mentally strong. Then only we can face our problems in our day-to-day lives. We will overcome the challenge, we will become friends with them, and then we will be happy that we had these challenges in our life, because they help us become stronger. When we are ready to face the problems, then we will become more stronger and better than we are in our past. So that is why the poet wants us to prepare ourselves mentally and physically strong to face the problems which he is comparing to the strong wind. So this is all about the poem of second chapter, The Wind, children. Let us see what is in the next one. Okay. So here comes the literary devices from the poem. So let us see what are the literary devices in the poem. First one is rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme means the entire poem is written in free verse and there are no rhyming words, children. There is no rhyme scheme in the poem. If you notice, it's like it's not like a paragraph or stanza wise. It's just phrases, that's all, without any rhyming words at the end. So there are no rhyme scheme. There is no rhyme scheme in this poem. Second one is anaphora. So literary device used, like all these are the things which are used in the poem. The anaphora is when a word is repeated at the start of two or more consecutive lines, it is the device of anaphora. Like if you see in the which lines, like lines 2, 3 and 4 begin with don't. In this poem, second line, third line and fourth line starts with what? Don't. D-O-N-T, don't. And sixth, seventh, eighth and line begins with you. So when the phrases are continuously starting with the same word, if it comes in the last, we know that what are the rhyming words. When it is beginning with the same words, we call it as anaphora. Next one is personification. Personification means wind has been personified. When the poet says you are here, he is referring to wind as you. You, that means he is treating wind as a person. Next, repetition. Repetition means crumbling. You have noticed that many times the word crumbling has been what? Repeated. Crumbling is repeated many times to lay emphasis. The poet wants to say that the wind crushes everything that is weak. And that is why he repeats the word crumbling regularly, because he wants to stress this word and show us. So that is why he is continuously repeating that word in that first stanza which I had given in this slide. Crumbling. That is called repetition. And alliteration. Alliteration means the repetition of consonant sounds. The repetition of consonant sounds in close connection. Like win, winnows. Win, winnows, won't, want. The words are different. The pronunciation also different. Meanings are different. But something like close connection, like win, winnows and won't, want. And the last one is symbolism. Symbolism means that the thing refers to some other thing. It means one thing will refers to some other things. Like wind is the symbol. It refers to the challenges in life. He is using wind as a symbol. First he is comparing that with a child and then youth. At last the overall concept is he is comparing the force of the wind with a problem to our lives. Right, children? So this is what symbolism here. Symbolic word is what? The wind. So here he is using wind as a symbol for the adversities of our life. So these are the literary devices, children. You can notice or underline all these literary devices in the poem. Okay. Yes. Here is the message of the poem. The message conveyed through the poem Wind is that we should never give up when there are obstacles and hardships in life. We should face those obstacles with strong willpower, just like the poet. Befriends the wind so that it could not harm in any way. The strong message conveyed by the poet is that we should look towards the brighter side of life and we should change our problems into our weapons. Children, the message conveyed in this poem or through this poem, the wind, is like the poet wants us to tell that We have to face the problems. We must not give up. We must not be scared of problems. We have discussed, right, only the weak people will be affected by the force of negativeness. So being strong physically and mentally helps us to lead in a successful way. So we should never give up in our life and we should not be scared of the problems. And now here the poet wants us to know that we have to be friends with the wind, means we have to treat the problem like a friend. Friend in the sense we have to take it easy whenever it comes. We have to face it easily with strong willpower. Then only we can come over those problems, and we should change. We should challenge our problems as our weapons. We have to use our problems as our weapons, then only we can challenge it and overcome it. So this is a message what the poet wants to convey through the message. Okay, children. So this is the message, and with this the poem is over. Now let us see into the activity part. Okay. So the activity part, next one is, here I have given some multiple choice questions. So these questions are from the poem. So I think this is a small concept regarding how to face the problems mentally and physically. The difference between the weak people and the strong people. And also children, the thing here how the poet is comparing the wind with a negative problem which we are facing. So this is all what about the poem, right? So on that basis, here 3 to 6 questions are there in the activity. You just write the answer. Number 1, write the answer. No need to copy all those things in your homework group. Just note it down, because these parts, these videos and audios you will be saving in your mobile, right? So you just copy the answers, and as usual, presentation, handwriting, spelling, mistake, everything should be very perfect, and you have to post it in the WhatsApp group without forgetting, like what? Posting your name also. Okay, children, so let me read the questions also. Question number 1. Who is the poet of the poem? Options: Subramanya Bharati, Robert Frost, Ruskin Bond, William Wordsworth. So you have to choose the correct option. Second question. Who broke the doors of the window? Children, a boy, a naughty boy, wind. Name the things the wind had done. Brought rain, torn the pages, broke the doors of the window, all. And the next questions. What is winnowing called? Winnowing means what? Cleaning process, sorting process, basana, none. Number 5. Why do people winnow the grain? Why do people winnow the grain? To clean the dust, to remove straws, to take out chaff, all. The last question. Who are affected by the wind? Weak, strong, people and things. So these are the activity questions for today's session. You have to write it and post. And children, let me tell you one thing. So we have not ended the session with this poem, because still we have the book back exercise to complete. So after this poem, let us go through the book back exercise, and we will do one day regarding those exercises and all. Meanwhile, who all didn't buy the books, please come to school and then receive your books, collect your books, so that we can all sit and work out together. Okay, children? So, and then with this, today's session is over, and let us meet in the next session to discuss and work out with the functional grammar, that is book back exercises. Okay, children? Thank you. This is Priya signing off from Alpha International CBSE School, Bahur. Goodbye, children.